Here are lessons of influencing clients as an AI agency owner. So what we want to understand is, first of all, that in order to influence somebody, we got to find out what already influences them. We cannot influence them by something that does not influence them in the first place, meaning in order to influence the client, we need to find out what is already influencing them, what has already influence over the person that we're talking to, and then aligning with it to get our message across. Now, what are the things that are influencing a person? That is a good question. So first of all, everybody has needs. We all have human needs for love and connection, for status and significance. We have a need for stability and security. We also have a need for novelty and variety and excitement. And we have a need for growth, and we have a need for contributing and wanting to seen and feel as a contributor. And so what we want to find out is what is the motivation of the person that we are talking to? Is it really that they can get the business more automated so that they can spend more time with their family? Or is it rather that they want to make a certain amount of money so that they feel worthy of the love of their family, even though that is confusion? But we want to find out. We don't want to argue with the person. We want to find out what is already influencing the person that we are trying to influence and sell to, so that we can articulate our solution, which we know is valuable to him or her, in a way that they receive it. Because otherwise, they won't hear what we want to convey, because we are explaining it in a way that would influence us, but not necessarily in the way that would influence the client. And so apart from all of the technical details, which is an assumed prerequisite of that, meaning we want to know what our solution does and how it helps the person and be able to articulate that. But that is just, as I said, the prerequisite. That is not all of it. We want to also align with what they want emotionally and psychologically, and not only technically, because that is also a much better buying experience for the person, right? Obviously, we want to explain the technical details, but then we want to articulate the so what, so that this doesn't happen in the future anymore. And with that, what else would be possible for you? And with that, what can you do? And what don't you have to do anymore that you did before? Okay, and how will that make you feel? How would that result in, would you be able to have a few more hours? What would you do with these hours? And after you fix those additional problems with these hours, what would you then do after with these hours? Okay, interesting. And why is that important to you? Okay, so then let's get the solution installed so that it will give you a little bit more time back, so that you can spend the time on solving these pressing issues that you have piling up as well, so that eventually we will get to, over time, that you can spend more time doing CrossFit, or spending time with your family, or preparing for the half marathon. That is your goal. You see what I mean? We want to also articulate what the psychological payoffs and benefits are that the person gets from that. Now, when we talk about, for example, an AI receptionist, let's make it very practical. This is a solution that a lot of people are selling right now. It could be a variation of that, like a voice agent of some kind. It could be customer support. It could be a receptionist. It could also be some agent that confirms that the lead or the contact has been received in the CRM after entering their information into a form. When we market that to a business owner, we can say, so that your clients get a better experience, so that you convert more clients, so that we raise the conversion rate from whatever it's going to be, 18% to 24%, whatever the numbers are going to be, so that you will make more money in turn, while your current customer support team is able to focus on the tasks that are already pre-filtered by the AI agents, so that they can actually speak to the clients who really need help with a complex issue that the tech cannot solve currently, etc., so that they will also have a better experience. And then can you imagine how your client, or how your employees are going to enjoy working at your company much more? And then do you think that the additional headaches and sometimes the misunderstandings might become less when people are generally enjoy their work much more? And you can articulate all kinds of payoffs and benefits for that. For that reason, it is important, in my opinion, to have an accurate understanding of how the dynamics in the business work. And that can come from educating yourself and listening to podcasts about the insights, what's happening inside of a business, but it comes mostly, and should come mostly, in my opinion, from actually listening to the clients, of them explaining how the business processes work and what's challenging about it, so that we can then find a way to articulate what the solution does in a way that aligns with what already has influence over the person. And so if it's a status-driven decision, we can also say that the additional money and the additional time can be spent on other areas of the business or of your personal improvement. And how is this going to make you look when you having the next business dinner or the next BNI meetup or the next presentation in front of your company, or when you meet friends for Thanksgiving or for dinner next time you invite other business owners over to your house? How would that make you look if you can talk about this voice agent and being able to also demo that? How would that make you look and seem that you're on the cutting edge of technology? So there you can play a little bit around on, not on the ego, yes, on the ego for sure, but on the perception, because we all have that to a certain degree. It is a biological, psychological function in ourselves. It's like biologically hardwired that we are concerned about other people's opinions, because that defines our status in our society. And our status in our society, eventually, when it crosses a certain threshold, we will be ostracized, or would have been ostracized in the past. But currently, kind of that also is. If you are that unimportant, then at some point you lose your house and your flat and you get kicked out. Like if nobody gives you a job and you don't receive any money because you're just living your life in a way that's not beneficial to anybody, it still works in this way. So our status in society is a real thing for people. And I mean, for our life circumstances to be working out. And so people are aware of that. And especially people who run their own business, who have gotten through a lot of hard work, blood, sweat, and tears to higher up positions in business, are very much aware of that. And so we can then appeal to that motivation. Basically, we want to find out what is the motivation. Now, some people in business, they believe that this is not desirable to have that motivation. Even though they may have it, they don't want to acknowledge that they have it so much. So for them, they go for the impact. I want to make an impact. I want to help people get my charity endeavors impulsed and propelled forward. For some people, it would be the family aspect of that. So we want to find out what are the motivations behind that, so that we can sprinkle in a little bit of that psychological language, because that makes us relatable to people. So the first skill is obviously to get the solution working without errors. And then the second skill is to articulate to the person what the solution does and actually building a solution that delivers that type of value. And that's exactly why I'm such a proponent of figuring out one solution only and then sticking with that, because there are so many additional pieces, as I just said. As a technical founder, you probably are not that strong in this psychological marketing articulation of these points. And that is completely okay. I'm not even saying you should be. But I'm saying is you get disproportionate returns when you go and you take this skill from like 5 out of 100 to 25 out of 100, which may not take you that many hours, but like the difference in the perception on a demo call or on a sales call with a client can be tremendous, because they feel they can relate to you in a different way and in a better way. So with that being said, let us find out what's motivating our client and the prospect that we're talking to. And how do we find this out? We listen. We wire our awareness, like we wire ourselves by setting the intention in front of the call repeatedly that we are going to listen to these psychological points. The outcome is, of course, to convey what the solution is doing for the client and the value that it brings in terms of save time, save costs, additional revenue, emotional pain that is being taken away, processes that don't work, that break, confusion, headache, awareness that is being put there, energy that is being drained into this inferior solution that you can solve with a better one. Of course, we want to articulate that, but then we also want to articulate a little bit, sprinkling that in, these psychological points, because that's when the client and the prospect realize that you get it. And people who are decision makers, they get it. They have this psychological understanding. In order to lead people, you have to have that. And so they know that, and they also are aware if you don't have that, and then you're just in the category of being the tech guy or gal. But if you want to be the chosen solution provider that they buy on repeat from, I would consider you to sprinkle in some of these psychological points. And how do you do that? I mean, find another person in a community and just do some sparring calls with them about sales. That's exactly what I meant. It's like people come to me and say, I don't have the time for that because there's this release and that release, and there's this course and this make.com certification that I still got to take, and I have to finish this content automation and this automation. And that's exactly why I'm saying, let's pick one solution, because there are so many adjacent things that build into the success. Scheduling 2 of those kind of sparring calls, testing, pitch to each other with another person who is also a builder in like a friendly exchange. It can be very beneficial to be able to articulate this one solution, so that you have the same sales conversation, the same demo conversation over and over and over again, so that you practice having this one conversation. All right, so I think that's enough for this video. I appreciate everybody. Thank you very much for watching.